Ah, there we are. Hi, everybody. Welcome aboard, all you ground troops spinning around smartly on the planet we call home, Gaia, Earth. We're meeting after we have officially met. We've actually showed up in human form in 2024 to begin this UFO Association, or group of people that would like to think we're UAP associates, but we're authors, consultants, organizers, orators, speakers, and this gentleman up in the top corner, Bret Lueder, is a co-host, author, publisher, presenter, and he recently spoke at the alien event with me in Las Vegas, and we met a couple of good people that are, I guess you could say, world travelers out and about. And they've met a lot of people in our business, the UFO business, and come to find out, Eric Degner is very good friends with Chanel Arnold. And Chanel Arnold, you may not know her, but some of us have met her, and she is the granddaughter of the famous Kenneth Arnold, I believe. So we're going to get started with Bret Lueder, since he thought this amazing TJ3BTriangle spacecraft up here in terrestrial land, and let Bret introduce himself. And Bret, I sent you a bio on Eric. Did you pull up the short version?
I did. Even the short version was pretty long. Yeah.
Well, let's get
Quite
you.
fascinating story.
Let's get you introduced, and can you read that for us for Eric? But we've got Chanel, and I don't even know where Chanel's is, so I may have to have Chanel read it for me. Introduce yourself tonight.
I did not get Chanel's, but I'll pick a couple highlights from Eric's, because it's really too long to read on a show. We want to ask him questions, right?
Oh, well, okay, sure. I'd rather meet them in person, and that we can have them back as an interview later on. But we're going to visit today.
Okay. Well, yeah, right. So, but Eric is a multiply disciplined academic in a wide variety of fields, and that apparently has prepared him to be a messenger for the ETs. And we're hearing this kind of a story a lot these days. And I find that to be very interesting timing when you consider disclosure and the government coming forward supposedly innocently, I think they portray themselves as, with disclosure in various kinds. We just had a congressional hearing, Senate hearing 2 days ago, and I've seen lots of mixed results. Personally, if I'm going to get information from UFOs, I'd rather talk to people like Eric or Chanel Arnold, because I just don't really have faith that the government's really being honest about stuff. And I have a feeling once we delve into the conversation with these two nice people, that we're going to find out that the government's holding back a lot of stuff that contactees can tell us about readily. So, Eric and Chanel, welcome to the TJ3BTriangle. Thank you so much for your time. And
thanks for having us.
Appreciate it. Eric, let's start with you. Your story is incredible, going back to when you're just a kid. But what I found fascinating, because I grew up in San Jose, California, you went to a UFO expo in the 5th grade?
Yeah, that's how I started hearing about it all. Like I was part of this 5th grade after school Lyceum class, like maybe 12 of us, and we do cool stuff, field trips. We went to this Egyptian museum. There's a really good one in San Jose. You probably know.
Yeah, the Rosicrucian Museum, yeah.
We went to this Ohlone Indian site out in Morgan Hill, where they found some fire pits, because there's they found hut pits, because there was a fire out there, an aerial. So we went and looked for, arrowheads and atlatls. And then for whatever reason, my 5th grade teacher, she was kind of out there, open-minded. She took us to a UFO symposium of some sort. I don't know what it was, but I know it was in downtown San Jose, California.
Okay.
And gosh, we came home that night, hung out in my kitchen area with my mom and dad. They were like docents, and maybe like 4 or 5 good friends. And I just remember having a feeling of just being really scared about aliens. It really freaked me out, so I had like a fear of aliens throughout my teen years since 5th grade until I went to college.
Okay. You know, I kind of sprouted antlers at the Bay Area UFO Expo, put on by Victoria Jack, who's since passed away. But what year was this when you were in?
Let's see. I was born in 73, so 5th grade.
Okay. So 78, 79, somewhere in there?
No, because I graduated high school in 91, so it would have been the early 80s. You know, like 84, 85.
Okay.
And then I didn't literally, you know, I have other stories. You know, I saw a UFO when I was in college or after college, but that was the only UFO symposium I went to until I got abducted in 2021. Ooh. So we're talking, you know, 36 years between UFO symposiums, and then I went to my first MUFON after I got abducted.
Okay. TJ.
Well, I was very excited to go to the alien event and meet Eric Degner, but more so Chanel Arnold, because she dropped the name you probably haven't heard of. I was like, are you kidding me?
Right.
Kenneth Arnold started this whole shindig, you know, if you really want to get down to it. So, Chanel, why don't you introduce yourself, and the girls will talk now about who you are and how you got into this UFO biz with me and Eric and Bret Lueder. But apparently you were born into it, so you may be like the high and mighty in my tarot deck.
Yeah, my grandfather started modern ufology. He's the, you know, beginning of it all. He's the man that started it all, June 24th, 1947. And, you know, there's a lot of synchronicities with, he had his sighting in 1947. I was born 30 years later in 77. You know, he believed that, like, the Kennedy and Lincoln synchronicities. He believed in a lot of like numbers happening and sequences. What he was looking for, a crashed aircraft that there was a reward for, and on June 24th, 1947. Instead, he witnessed 9 echelon formation crescent shapes of flying discs flying at about 1,700 miles per hour, because he clocked them in between Mount Adams and Mount Rainier, excuse me. But yeah, he calculated him about going 1,700 miles per hour. But yeah, he had a lot of friends just because he's so famous. And I grew up looking through the files in the house. I had a friend that worked at a radio station, and we had Project Blue Book documents, and you know, some of the stuff's blacked out, but you know, we copied them at the radio station and passed them out. You know, I've always been about disclosure. My mom really didn't want to let any pictures go or anything, so I've, like, throughout the years, leaked pictures of him, because there wasn't any very good pictures, you know, that represented my grandfather. And then last year, I republished his book, The Coming of the Saucers, and it's on Amazon. But that's the book.
Very cool.
And it's been, you know, nice to have a book to sell at a convention. My mom was going to start a convention in Pendleton, Oregon, but her book didn't go through. It was written by another guy who just kept it for himself, and I don't want to mention his name, but anyhow, she didn't get her book that she wanted, unfortunately.
Okay.
But you're working on one now, are you not?
No, I just republished my grandfather's book.
Oh, okay.
Okay. The Saucers. Yeah, it was written by him and Ray Palmer. They you know, did the Fate magazine article, and Ray Palmer paid my grandfather to go investigate Maury Island, and you know, supposedly some UFOs crashed in the Puget Sound in Seattle, and I have parts of the UFOs that fell out of the sky supposedly, but wow. It was a big part of the book, because, you know, my grandfather had his sighting on a Tuesday afternoon for 3 minutes, you know, and that was it. And so, you know, to really write a book, they had to include the Maury Island incident, because it was pretty, you know, the first Air Force fatalities happened. The 2 military men that had pieces of the flying saucer supposedly crashed in Kelso, and they perished. But the Air Force had just started that year, 1947. It was the first Air Force casualties. And they have like a little festival in Buren near where Maury Island was every year. And I know the guy that throws it. It's a really fun deal. It's just a little street fair. But yeah, but Maury Island's kind of become folklore there. It kind of scared my grandfather because his friends died. They perished in the airplane, when it crashed. And his fuel line was shut off when he took off, and so he almost crashed his airplane, but he landed safely. But he didn't know who messed with his fuel line. So I mean, his plane was sabotaged. He could have died.
Wow,
But,
we don't know all that. I don't even know all that. Kenneth Arnold's always the first name that comes up, and because he's the one. It was Mount Rainier. Did you say Washington?
Where he was looking for a crashed military C-46 Marine transport plane that had crashed into the side of Mount Rainier, and there's a $5,000 reward if it was found. And talking about synchronicities, he had a sighting on June 24th. They found the bodies of the men on July 24th. They had the funeral on August 24th. And my grandfather just thought that was really odd that it was just always, on the 24th,
numbers, patterns. Yeah,
so,
numbers and patterns.
Yeah,
Definitely.
patterns. Yeah, yes. Synchronicities. So, yeah.
Wow. Well, folks, really, Kenneth Arnold, it was in Fate magazine. That's what started the flying saucer. It was in the newspaper, and he was describing it, and he was trying to describe it. Now, this is my understanding because I was a journalist, newspaper kind of person, so I can understand trying to grasp what this guy was saying. People are going, what do these look like? And they didn't know what they called them back then. So he said it was like a saucer, right, Chanel? And I guess we can think of a coffee cup with a saucer. Ergo, they have flying saucers. But you can look it up in our history. But Chanel, is that in your? Hold your book up again. I didn't get to really see it good. Maybe I can get let me see if I can get a closer look.
Okay.
Oops. Hold on. I got to have you on there. Can you put it right in front of the camera?
Oh, pretty good. You can see that pretty good.
Okay. And what's it called again?
The Coming of the Saucers, and it's on Amazon. It's on Amazon. That looks like that's pretty close.
Yeah, that looks good.
It says republished by Chanel Chance. I have to change that. But I want to find a picture of the flying saucer.
Okay.
In here, if I can. I have it hanging up on the wall, but
we're gonna start all this stuff.
I'm gonna go grab the
picture.
He's
just gonna get the picture off the wall, and then it's the most famous depiction of him.
Yeah, that's the one we all know of. Yeah. Oh, look at Eric. Nice, Eric. So that's the boomerang, and the saucer are part of a saucer, but that's the famous Fate magazine photo, is it not?
From back in the it's watercolor that he had done, and they did change shapes, but that's the most common shape. I was going to show in the book. That's him holding the original airbrush drawing.
Right, I've seen that at least 100 times in my reality. That's why I knew who he was. That famous picture with him holding that. That's amazing.
You saw 9 of them?
9.
Yeah, and he said they skipped like a saucer.
Right.
Yeah.
Like skipping a rock, and then the guy in Pendleton, the newspaper guy, he should have said skipping or flying echelons, but he said, hey, it's like a flying saucer,
echelons, yeah.
The name was coined by the reporter in Pendleton, because he landed in Yakima, somebody saw, and then by the time he landed in Pendleton, everybody was waiting for him. And, he was the most famous man in 1947, and the whole Maury Island thing, just scared him half to death. The government was like watching him, tapping him, his phone line was tapped at home, and, he wasn't doing anything. He was just a regular guy that liked to fish and hunt, and, he was a private pilot. He worked for Idaho's aerial posse. He would fly prisoners back and forth. He ran for governor of Idaho. He's a respected businessman, and, definitely, changed the world. Had about 8 sightings, and his 8th sighting in Susanville, California, they look transparent to him. And I've heard of UAPs being transparent or even being invisible and then, be cloaking or whatever. But, he kind of believed that there's a connection between the living and the dead. It's the way we travel after we die. They could be us in just different form, but I don't know. That's just kind of my family's beliefs, that they are the connection between the living and the dead. Maybe the angels that are here, the aliens that they talk, that are talked about, in the Bibles, they just didn't know how to explain who they are. But they, do have humanoid aliens. So anyhow, there are ones that look like us, supposedly.
Supposedly. Well, we can talk about all of that because the three of us were just at I guess, the alien event, and we hopefully will meet everybody in April in LA. Not sure yet, but we're talking about it. So we may be Bret and I were asked to speak again. So we'll see how that goes. And Eric Degner is Eric, tell me real quickly, since we're talking about UFOs, there was another event that you went to, and I didn't understand it. Was a cruise or on a ship, or you met Daryl Sims? But let's talk about that for a minute, and then we'll jump back to this.
Okay. And I'm the one that's writing the books.
Okay. Well, let's talk about your book, but first, let's introduce you. And you met some of these people. So drop a few names.
The biggest UFO event in the whole circuit is the Contact in the Desert, and it's in Indian Wells out of Palm Springs.
Okay.
And gosh, there must have been 3,000 people there this year, and it's like the biggest event. It was their 10th year anniversary too, I believe. And we're talking all the rock stars of the game. That Graham Hancock, Travis Walton, Linda Moulton Howe, and it's huge. And so I went for the first time last year as just an attendee, and I went there it was like a 3 or 4 day event, and I met a ton of great people. I saw a ton of talks, and then since my books aren't done yet, I got an idea. I've been tumbling agates that I found in the ocean a few years back to sell necklaces. So I decided to get a booth before I have a book. So this year at Contact in the Desert, I had a booth selling agate necklaces right by Speaker Row. And honestly, I sold 6 necklaces and I gave away 12. I gave them to I gave one to Travis Walton and his son, Linda Moulton Howe. I was just being generous. And they have an offshoot. They have Contact in the Sea. And I guess they do a cruise once a year. And it was from basically Seattle to Alaska and back. And it was 7 days. And gosh, the great thing about it is there was probably 50 to 60 attendees like me, and 20 speakers. So, the ratio of speaker to person was really good. And we're on a tiny ship. So basically I met all the speakers, Daryl Sims was there, Seth Shostak with SETI, Daniel Sheehan, the lawyer, Steve Bissett, the guy that's doing the Oak Island thing on History Channel was there, Walter, his wife doing this ancient site in Ireland show. So yeah, there's amazing speakers, and I was able to personally meet every single one of them on some level. And some of them I'd met before, but it's just reinforcing relationships. And but yeah, it was the best trip of my life. It was only 80 of us, and the boat was 5,000 people, so we were just a tiny little symposium on a boat, basically.
Was it a Carnival cruise or another Voyager?
Royal Caribbean. Royal Caribbean.
Royal Caribbean. Yeah. And where did they ship out of? What?
We left. I was lucky because, most people had to fly into Seattle, but I drove up there 3 hours away. And I was able to park right by the boat. We went Seattle to Sitka. That was our first stop. And then we went to Skagway, and then we went to Juneau, and then we headed back south and we did Victoria, Canada last night.
Wow.
And in a couple of days, we were just out in the middle of the sea. You know, we didn't even stop, you know, because we were just on our way to Alaska or way back. And I didn't sell my agates on the boat. I was thinking about it, but I mean, I would have lost a lot of money. But my next symposium was Dallas MUFON.
Oh, you went to that down here.
Yeah. And so I had a booth selling my agates, and Chanel had a booth selling her books. So that's how we met.
Oh my gosh. So
Yeah,
you're a
both
newcoming group. Well, good. I'm glad you started with us this year. This is out and about and bringing you out into the ways. We've been here 12 years in ET radio, but we've started ET podcasting this year with Jeff Rennell and Bret Lueder. Bret Lueder has his own show on ET Talk, and he invited me to do ET Talk, which I had ET radio. So we made it ettalktv.com, and we're going to put this up there and just with a couple other greats like Rick Doty and Jesse Marcel. I've got to be working on that and get that going. But Bret Lueder, of course, will be there, and I will. But now you two are going to be coming out as a speaker, are you not? You're practicing your orator speakership with all your kindred spirits and tribes.
Well, she's already spoken, but I haven't. You know, I'm an unknown. I got abducted 3.5 years ago almost, and so I'm totally new to the scene. So this has been her life since she was born.
Yeah, she was born into it when she 30
yeah,
years
so
later.
she's already spoken. You know, honestly, I'm probably not going to get a speaking gig until I have a book out. That's the way it works.
Yeah, it is.
So I came to the realization I just need to start writing my darn books. So I want to do a trilogy, and one of them is just like from birth to when I got abducted. You know, it's like the first 48 years of my life. And then the second book is when I got abducted. It's like the next 11 months, and it's almost a 200-page book. So I have two 200-page books, and then the third one is going to be the third time I got abducted. Well, so I have two rough drafts done. I have to finish the third one, and then I have to, you know, do all that good stuff to get them published.
Well, Bret, do you have some questions you want to start? And either Eric or Chanel is okay since you're both together. I guess we can announce who the question will be to so we don't confuse you or the audience. But Bret, you want to guide the ship here for a while?
Yeah. So this is a question for both of you. Oh. There's a idea in ufology that sometimes ETs set people up together, like fix them up.
Yeah, we've already.
Is that does that apply to you? Have you thought that?
It definitely probably does. We've already talked about that.
But a side note to that is I've been doing magic my whole life, or half my life since I was in my 20s. But I've been on a shamanic path since I got abducted. But this last summer, I was like, if I meet my next significant other, it has to be someone at a UFO festival in person that's already, you know, selling a book or something. It's like no more, you know, online dating or any of that. It has to be in person at the UFO. So I manifested her, I don't know, like 3 or 4 weeks before it happened.
Wow.
Couldn't have gotten any better than that. Or like in the bloodline, you know, written on paper.
You know, and it's just my thought was like someone that our synchronicities and synergies, we can help each other out. You know, she can edit my book. You know, we can share booths together. We can talk together. You know, it's just like a match made in ET heaven.
Partnership.
So you didn't manifest her, you manifested her.
It's a long story. I mean, we could write a book on it. I mean, we met, we became Facebook friends, and then, 2 months later, it just kind of snowballed via messaging.
Oh, the love bite. Yeah, a lot of people carry that. You know, Bret Lueder, Janet Lesson has the love bite. She's very into how people coerce into being couples, like Bret Lueder and I, when he's young enough to be my son, but we're just associates and we're good friends.
The funny thing is that it happened right after I went on the Love Boat. Like she messaged me like 2 days after the boat. Like, you know, there's all sorts of women trying to hang out with me, and and I'm like,
You're a very handsome
no, stay the course. So then she like Facebook messages out of the blue like 2 days after the cruise. I'm like, oh, and the rest is history. That was like what, 2 months ago?
She can see it, huh?
2 months ago, yeah.
Well, I want to hear Chanel's side of it, but Bret's got a question. I'm trying to let Bret do this.
Well, yeah. We don't, we don't want to do the whole thing on the love connection, right? But that's definitely an interesting part of it. But Chanel, have you been abducted?
I have a mark that I've had since I've been in my 20s on my stomach, and I don't know why. I mean, it's a weird mark. Doctors can't explain why I have it. So, but Lauren with MUFON in San Francisco says if my grandfather saw the flying saucers, the DNA had to be a certain way to see them. And look, our family's all been abductees. We just don't recall it because of being able to see the flying saucers. I myself had flying saucers. I've seen them here in Portland, and I've saw them a couple times, but I don't recall having any missing time, but I do have a mark on my belly that's odd. So anyhow,
is it a scoop mark?
It is.
It's concave, like a scoop mark.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, and then the ETs probably met on the ship, and for kind of the symposium like clicked, So yeah, it's weird how things happen, but my grandfather, it wasn't the right time for disclosure when he died in 1984. And it's just crazy how, I get invited to a lot of things when, he was kind of a recluse just because he was so bothered. He was only 29 when he had his sighting, he was just young and had my two young aunts. And then 10 years later, my mom was born, and then her sister was born. And they still got made fun of in school, and so it wasn't the right time. People considered him a Orson Welles, kind of like, War of the Worlds type, deal. People could not believe in flying saucers in 1947, but he started everything. I mean, he's the man that started it all. He was the right person, the right place, the right time. That was the summer of saucers. After he saw flying saucers, everybody started seeing them. Even the government tried to get him to stop doing his lectures at the Knife and Fork Club, and his buddy and him went up. He was the editor for the air. That he also worked for the Army National Guard here in Boise. And they went up in the airplane to look for a UFO, and they saw one baking in a cloud. And so it's like even my grandfather's friends were seeing flying saucers. But the government thought if they could stop him from being public, that everybody else would stop seeing him. But that wasn't the case. It just snowballed. 1947 was it. And I do believe it has something to do with Hiroshima and Nagasaki being a couple of years before with the atom bombs dropping, because it seems like they did start having a lot of activity after that, just because they're probably like, oh my God, these people are going to blow themselves up, and they got curious to see what we were doing. But yeah. So.
And Roswell happened, was it
2 weeks later? Roswell happened 2 weeks later. Yeah. And I'm friends with Jesse and Denise. They're great people. Yeah. I mean, I thought our grandfathers would probably want us to be friends, just because it's so weird how it's gotten to be so mainstream now, because back years ago, it just wasn't talked about. Nope. We're the only people in the universe. It was just like, we had our blinders on and we couldn't talk about, why there's hieroglyphs of aliens in caves, that, and how do you explain that away? But anyhow, it's the right time for disclosure. The government finally admitted they exist, quietly during the pandemic when everybody was freaking out. But at least we got that. So
we got 2020 behind us now. They said hindsight's 2020, and if we can get 2020 behind us in this ET biz, we'll be doing PR good. So Bret Lueder's written a book about what's going on and how he sees it, and I'm looking forward to reading that book. But I'm plugging that. Bret, say something. What's the name of your book coming out?
It's called Agents of Ascension, Volume 1, UFO PR, and it's about how public relations has controlled the UFO narrative from the beginning.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, another question, Bret, for
Yeah. Okay, so Eric, did you agree to be abducted, or were you taken against your will? Some people argue there's a soul contract there. What's your take?
I mean, it came out of the blue, out of left field. I had a corporate accounting job for about 2 years. Before that, make a long story short, COVID happened. My office went to 2 people from 12, and I was the accountant. I was the glue, so I got carpal tunnel, and I filed for workman's comp. The boss didn't like that, so he tried to get me to quit for about a year. Finally, I was like 5 minutes late to work, and 7 minutes late the next day, and he fired me. Other people would be a half an hour, hour late.
Sure.
And then I got abducted 3 weeks later after I got fired. So I went from accountant, normal life, and I started going to the dance club, and I met some people, and they were having a music festival. And I went to it was a camp out music festival, and I got abducted on a Saturday, and I didn't know about it. I had a weird Saturday, let's put it that way. I didn't know about it when I got home Sunday. Yeah, it was, it's a whole podcast, what happened on that Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But I got home on Sunday, and I was looking through my pictures and videos, and there was this 18-minute video on my phone. I'm like, what's this? And I watched it, and I was like, I got abducted. There's no doubt in my mind, because wasn't a fanatic. I went to the symposium in 5th grade. I watched the X-Files. But yeah, I watched this 18-minute video, and, in a nutshell, I texted a friend right away. I'm like, I got abducted yesterday. Came out of left field. I just had this kind of somewhat normal life doing the accounting thing, and then boop, side road down a dirt road down the forest. Eric's supposed to be a messenger. So yeah, the video, in a nutshell, I'll make it real quick, is I'm filming my iPhone upright, my friend that did the music festival. He was the musician at the time. I want to say it was like, it was 4:50 p.m. And I'm at this position. All of a sudden, imagine a burlap sack, but it's metallic. You can see this mesh go over my body.
Wow.
And so the camera's like looking through a mesh. And then all of a sudden, the music gets distorted and it slows down. And then I'm on the ground and I'm getting dragged like a mama cat drags a kitten.
Oh, wow.
The video's like on the ground going up and like this. I get a couple points and it's all slow motion. It goes from live music to and you can hear a growl a couple times. When it first happened 3 years ago, I was like, I'd learned about all these weird species. And I thought it was a reptilian maybe because they're big. Something had to get me by the neck and drag me. But like, I don't know, this last summer talking to people, I'm like, maybe it was Bigfoot. So there's a couple growls. They dragged me to a porta potty. And now we joke about it. It's the porta potty portal. And, people I talk to, I show the video too. The porta potty door opens. And for 5 frames, I'm like this walking in and you can see plastic. And then the perspective goes like this. I'm on my back. And there's about 5 frames where I'm in like a dome room or some other room. I'm not in a porta potty. And you can actually see something over me for a sec, but it has like a mask on. I don't know if it was like a mantis or something that had a mask. And then the video goes black for 10 minutes.
Huh.
All you can hear is sounds. You can hear footsteps. You can hear metal clanking. You can hear the growl a couple times. You can hear dripping. So I'm like I've been hypnotized. I'm on an exam table getting checked out. After 10 minutes of black, it's reverse course. The porta potty door opens up and they drag me back to the main stage. It takes about 3 minutes on the return trip. And you don't see a UFO. You can see lights off in the woods and you could hear like a click, click, clicking. They're supposed to be silent, but I'm in the Never Land between worlds. So you can actually hear some sort of craft in the woods and see lights just getting ready to leave. And you can hear like a roar. And then about 30 seconds before the video's over, I'm being dragged on the ground just like before. The music comes back on. all swirly, and I get launched through the air back to the main stage. I'm at the same spot. You can see daylight for a second. I have no idea when they dropped me off. The video started at 4:51. It's 18 minutes. My next picture was not till like 10 or 11 p.m. So I have no idea when I got dropped off. I took a series of pictures. I took the video at 4:51, and I took like 5 or 6 pictures at like 11 p.m. And half the people at the festival were like, "Where you been for 4 or 5 hours?" And I'm like, "I don't know." A few people I actually interacted with during the weird afternoon. So I was missing. People were like, where were you? So and then I didn't know what went down until the next day when I got home and I found the video, and I'm like, oh, that's what happened. I got abducted at the rave. Yeah.
So that is one of the many things I've investigated is missing time. I told you about the 14 minutes, or it's like a day for a minute that we can't usually replace, but yours are hours.
Yeah, mine, I
5
was
hours.
I was gone 4.5 hours. I was in Never Never Land for 4.5 hours, and people noticed I was gone.
Well, I've noticed in all the years I've been investigating this, missing time is based on evidence, like a watch stops or something like that. You've got a film, and you feel like that.
Yeah, but I don't know. The thing is, I don't know when I got dropped off. There's a discrepancy because I got taken at 4:51. So that would put it at like 5:10 p.m. that I got dropped off because you could see daylight. But it's not like me to not take any pictures. There was a 4.5 hour period where I wasn't taking any pictures or videos or anything.
So was your body returned and you were just frozen, or did you
honestly,
you remember the concert?
I was cloaked, and they, I don't know if they froze everybody at the stage when they dragged me off. So they used some sort of cloaking technology. And honestly, 75% of the people were like, where were you? But 25% of the people I actually interacted with, and I have memories of that afternoon of, not being in a ship. So it's like I was actually at 2 places at once. I was on the ground.
Common.
Yeah. But I kind of told you briefly when we talked on the phone, this opened a can of worms. I went to my first MUFON 3 weeks later after that event. I filed a report that Sunday when I saw the video.
Well, you were excited, right? You wanted somebody to believe you. And
but the guy, that's the story. The MUFON guy didn't believe me. Now he does. But that was my first MUFON Vegas, which was 3 weeks after. It was August 7th, 2021 that this event happened. That was my first MUFON. My second MUFON was in Denver the next year, 2022. And this is a serious synchronicity and can of worms. I was going there, and I don't go to many of the disclosure talks because they kind of bore me. I kind of like to see the experience or stuff. So I brought my book for the trip, and it was Mike Clellan, the Owl Guy, The Messengers. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's the Owl Guy. He's written a couple books about the connection.
Owl Guy? No, I haven't heard of the
Owl. Yeah, he's the guy that, people see like 4-foot owls. They're screen movies. There's no such thing as a 4-foot owl.
A screen of the mind, do you think?
Yeah. So anyhow, I was reading his book at the pool, and I was bouncing between there and seeing talks in the smoking area outside because you meet people out there. And I go outside and I hear this gal talking to this guy about owls. And I'm like, hey, are you talking about Mike? I'm reading his book. And at that instant, this gal gets a text from Mike. She had already been contacted. So I got connected with Mike at that second. And I'm like, hey, when I get back to Oregon, I'm going to look for my owl videos because I started interacting with owls out in the woods at night before I got taken. So anyhow, I'm going through my phone looking for owl videos. And 3 days before the music festival, were the 18-minute video, I went on a hike. I found this 1 and 10-minute video that happened on August 4th, 2021. And I walked about 6 blocks from my house we're in now. So these dense woods, it's like a canyon. So there's no houses. It's just dense Oregon woods in a creek. And I went there at 11:45 p.m. and I hiked down to the creek and to do some magic. And I call the 4 directions. I call the east and the south, and I'm taking a video of it at 11:59. And I found the video a year later. It's an hour and 10-minute video, and it ends at 12:12 a.m. on 8/5. So only 13 minutes passed, but the video is an hour and 10 minutes.
Huh.
And I've only watched it 5 or 6 times. It kind of creeps me out. It's kind of like a creepy B horror flick, but the creek sound stops. I'm in the woods. The trees become entities. It's all slow motion. Something's checking me out. I think they were checking me out. They didn't take me up to a ship. I was in the woods the whole time. I think they were checking me out before the music festival 3 days later. Like, hey, is this guy worthy to take up to the ship or whatever? But yeah, it's just this weird slow motion video for an hour and 8 minutes. And then the creek sounds come on and I cough and it's over. And the only reason I know how long it is, and there's a timestamp, as I'm hiking away at 12:12 a.m., 13 minutes after I took the video, I took a series of pictures at 12:12, 12:12, 12:13, 12:14. So yeah, it's like this proof of missing time, this video.
Well, I guess nowadays the change is that we have the phones, but they used to wouldn't even let me as an investigator take photographs, with a Pentax back in the day, but in LA or going to San Diego. So now I'm surprised that we've gone into this after 2020 and they're allowing certain individuals as contactees or experiencers or abductees or whatever level of consciousness they choose to identify as, because we have many folks. And the MUFON that he mentioned is just an acronym for Mutual UFO Network, which that got started a long time ago after APRO, and actually Carl Lorenzen, and in Wisconsin, and then a gentleman that was a university professor there that took over where she left off, but she and her husband. So there's a long history to MUFON and many accounts of different groups before that, like APRO. Well, Mutual UFO Network you mentioned, so you didn't get into that at all. How did you hear about MUFON after 2021 or before?
Well, no, it was that Sunday I found the video. So I got taken on Saturday at the music event, and then I got home Sunday and I found this 18-minute video on my phone, and I'm like, oh my God, I got abducted. I got to file a report. So I Googled file UFO report. I had never heard of MUFON until that Sunday.
Oh no, seriously?
Never.
Oh my God.
So it had their website, and it actually had the 2 Oregon guys that work for Oregon with their emails and phones. So I called one guy, the head guy, and got his voicemail, left a message saying like, hey, I got taken yesterday. I want to file a report. And then I emailed both of them. And then here's the crazy thing. The guy that was the head, he called me back, I don't know, an hour later. We chatted for 10 minutes, and I told him what happened.
You got a call within the hour? Boy, that's a lot better than me. You're lucky to get one.
Oh, I mean, that was the first time. I've not had much luck after, but anyhow.
Once it's filed.
Like it happened in North Plains, Oregon. It's this little town like 20 miles west of Portland. It's called North Plains. And it's, not even a suburb. It's just a little, it's becoming a suburb, but there's all these woods and mountains above it. And he's like, oh, there's been a lot of other reports out there in North Plains. Oh. And so if you get on MUFON and type in North Plains under their search, there's like 12 other reports over the last 15 years. Not abductions like me, but sightings. So yes, it must be a hotspot.
Well, you two are excellent for just because you've met each other and got the love bite or the calling to be together, which that's all that, like that's a whole video in itself is people are interested in how people get together in the business, right? So that's a whole show. But folks, we want to have them back. Excuse me, I'm getting a crick in my leg, or whatever you call it, a twist. But we want to have them back as individuals, Eric Degner and Chanel Arnold. And as Chanel said, she's in the process of changing her name back to her original family name. So it was Chance, right? Chanel Chance?
Yeah, it was Chanel Chance. So yeah, my book still says Chanel Chance on it. So I need to fix my book. You know, I have to do that on Amazon. And my book's only on Amazon, you know, just because I published it for self-published on that
Kindle
platform on the Kindle
publishing. Well, good for you if you figured that out for yourself. Yeah, we used to have that as Create Space, and then Kindle came in, Kindle Publishing, and then they made it what it is today. So yeah, you can do a second or an updated or republish, you know, or just rewrite the whole thing again in your own words if you want. You know, if you can get more data from your family as to what their experiences were. Is your family compliant? Are they in denial? Are they relatives that support?
There's a lot of definitely new age beliefs, but orbs have a lot to do with the UFO sightings that we've seen in our family. You know, we're just really open-minded people, you know.
So they don't mind the DNA and or checking your genealogy is a lot of us do that as well. Genealogy has gotten to be a very big part on families.
Yeah, I have a son who's autistic, and we did a DNA test, but I haven't got the results back, which is sad because I kind of want to see what my makeup is. But anyhow, yeah, I mean that'll be interesting to see that when that finally comes about. But yeah,
is there any? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Like my aunt, just to say, my aunt Kiska, who passed away, my closest aunt, went to a UFO convention once and didn't even tell anyone who she was because she was so made fun of growing up. You know, that she, you know, she was so hurt from all the names that she was called. You know, she just kind of attended to see how it was, and she passed away in 2017. But you know, I still have a couple aunts that are alive, and you know, they have a lot of spiritual experiences. You know, my one aunt thinks that, you know, she's psychic, and then, you know, my other aunt is she kind of lives in Seattle and likes living there because it's so new agey.
Wow.
But and then there's me, you know, the only spokesperson on my grandfather's behalf, you know, and I just kind of got into it by doing podcasts. And then I got invited to a festival in Chehalis, Washington in honor of my grandfather. And you know, the Buren UFO Festival guy got a hold of me, did that, you know, and then I published my books, and now I have a book to sell. But you know, I'm probably definitely going to be doing more in the future. So yeah.
Well, good. Yeah. Well, I don't know where Bret and I'll be, but you're definitely welcome to come along because I'm marketing now, which I didn't know I was going to, the ET Talk TV brand for whoever is going to be on the ET Talk TV, and you definitely too are because of this TJ3BTriangle that was apparently a good idea for Bret that got involved with E-Talk and Jeff Rennell. And Bret, why don't you tell them your vision for this particular terrestrial spacecraft flying around out here in the ephemeris or out here in the...
Yeah, well, you know, I knew you and Janet Lesson, and I thought it was you know, you were mentioning to me about doing some kind of project together, so I thought, well, if the three of us got together, three totally different people with three totally different experiences, if we got together and started talking about UFOs and inviting people on, then I thought we could make some magic. And I think this is a good example of that, right? We get to meet some new people and then talk about some stuff that I always get excited about talking about UFOs, and then to hear about Kenneth Arnold and some stuff that I didn't know about from the Kenneth Arnold case and history, and then hearing about the wild abduction stuff of Eric. It's like I don't know why this stuff isn't like on 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You know,
I know. That's what I thought when it happened. Like,
right?
I'm not on the news yet.
Yeah.
So okay. So this is a question for both of you guys too. You know, there's a lot of fear that you hear about from contactees. They get startled in the middle of the night when they see an ET, or they take them maybe against their will, or they come back with scoop marks. There all kinds of things are reported, claw marks, anxiety. They get after these experiences, they have anxiety. So do either one of you think that there is a nefarious bent to the UFO thing? Is there Is there evil going on? Is there negative species of ETs that are harming humans, or do you see it the other way, that it's good and positive?
You want to go first? For me, I don't see them. I just know they get me because I have insomnia. I don't sleep through the night anymore. I get up like once or twice, usually twice, 3 times. And I know they get me if the clock says 111 or 222 or 333 a.m. And I have like, a stuffed up nose or a migraine, whatever. But my experiences, I say, are positive. I'm useful for them. I've had a psychic reading about it. They're friendly to me. It's not a bad thing. But I will say, I went to Cabo, Mexico 2 years ago, Christmas time alone, and I switched from one Airbnb to another. And one night, my first night, I woke up 111 or 222 with fresh claw marks on my left side. They were fresh. I touched them as I woke up. And then the same thing happened on the second night, but on my right arm. Woke up at like 222. And then I was not happy about that. So I did a little spell, a protective spell, circle that morning. I'm like, do not get me again for the third night in a row. Just don't. And I had the most vivid UFO dream I've ever had that night.
Wow.
I was like, and a lot of it's like screen memory, and they put in like your friends or your relatives in the play that they're showing you. So anyhow, to make a long story short, this UFO, and I don't have vivid ones like this. I'm just driving out in the country with some friends to go visit another friend out in the country in like a double wide trailer on an acre. We're like in a Honda Accord. We arrive at the house, and there's like a tree off to the side, and there's like Tinkerbell stuff floating in the tree. I look up the sunroof, and I see a UFO a mile up. A split second later, after I look up, me and 8 other people, I don't know if it was the people in the car, are going up vertical at a very rapid speed. We were all crammed in a small craft. I didn't see any ETs. I woke up feeling going up and going, oh! That was the third night after getting scratched 2 nights in a row. That was my only, I would say, negative stuff. I will say I've had a couple shirts that have like stains, like a claw mark, but it could have been like a gray or something because their hands are different. But yeah, usually I don't have scratches on my arms. And I've had some psychic readings. People have watched the video, and I had a MUFON guy in Illinois do a psychic reading, and he says they're the Nordics and that I'm useful to them. And it's an amicable relationship.
Oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
Chanel?
And I really don't have much to say because I don't feel like I get abducted that much. I sleep really deep, and I sleep for a lot. It's 12-hour. I sleep 12-hour nights. I sleep really well. But I notice with him, he tosses and turns a lot. I think he's restless, because of what he's going through. But I sleep like a baby. I usually sleep a lot, and I do have a scoop mark, but I've had since I've been in my 20s, and I have had UFO sightings. I just haven't been regressed. I've probably been up on one of those spaceships. I just don't remember. So,
have you considered? Go ahead, Bret.
Are you not curious to know?
Oh no, I'm very curious to know. We were going to have a reading done, but it didn't pan out. But eventually I'll see.
Yeah, she wants to get regressed.
Yeah, I need to get regressed.
Yvonne, she's the one that did me.
Vaughn Hendricks, yeah.
Oh, Yvonne Smith. She's out.
I'm sorry. You're right. There's Vaughn Smith. My bad.
I'll just add a little thing about. The thing that sucks about being an experiencer, and I think it's positive for me, but in talking to other ones, the thing that sucks the most, other than the physical aliens, is going to bed every night and not knowing if tonight's going to be the night. It's just that wild card is like, oh, I'm going to wake up at 222 with a migraine and have weird dreams the rest of the night. It's just that unknowing, which sucks. And so, that's probably one of the reasons I have insomnia. I used to be like her. I'd sleep through the night 10 hours. And now, I mean, I've slept through the night like maybe half a dozen times the last year.
You're anticipating spiritual growth.
Yeah, I'm up at like 2 or 3 a.m.
I've lived my whole life like this. So I was taken as a young girl, and I went out to White Sands. You probably don't know all my stories, but they're in books. But, you know, after you get used to it, then you get where you do sleep more, and you do have hypnagogic levels of dreaming. And because I wanted to know all the levels and interdimensional travel, a lot of it will be lucid dreams, or feel like you walk through your dream into a lucid dream, into a hypnagogic state of mind where you're in complete, utter vision of everything as real as here on the planet. And it was a long time coming where I had to learn new words about bilocation and accepting other universes and interdimensional travel, and how that compared to death and dying, since I had died and been on the other side. So there's a lot of growth in consciousness and being mindful of how we all exist, and that this isn't all there is. And, you know, they say that we're living in an illusion, and various people have said that the mind is all there is, or the all in one and one in all, and our God source, or God is everything. And if everything is God love? And so you can go into this whole philosophical monad or absoluteness of the one and all, right? Or are we living in a matrix with various levels and dimensions that were made by computers? And I think we're entering that phase of understanding that there's many levels, many dimensions that we're starting to accept, that was not taught in our academia or in the schools the way that they may have been taught back, you know, in the day when there was Mu and Atlantis, and it was taught over into Egypt and in India and through Tibet. And then allegedly the Yeti and the people that know about Bigfoot, those were beings that were left behind on this planet at one time. I think they have all blended with each other, but they definitely live here and keep out of sight. And I believe they're interdimensional, and they can come and go as they please, because we've heard of so many. I've had 2 excitings myself, but I believe they come and go as they please, you know. But I'm always looking for people that have had their own experience. If it's hereditary, usually DNA, medically, they find out, like even the Walton story, if you know, is it what? Am I saying that right? Was there?
Yeah, Travis Walton. Yeah.
That all of a sudden I heard, and I was thinking the Walton, like the TV show.
The Waltons.
It was. So, you know, Walton and his story. And then later on, I heard through the grapevine, because I don't go to the UFO. I did not ever go to UFO events. Wasn't really allowed as a woman in black or an investigator. Was the fact that he changed his story from being maybe abductee to thinking it was okay, and that people have helped him figure out maybe it was medically in his family. I don't know what his new story is, but I heard that it's sort of done a complete philosophical or psychological turn. Bret, have you heard about that? Travis Walton deciding?
Talking about Travis Walton, yeah. You know, I've met the man briefly once at the Bear UFO Expo 15 years ago or so. I've read the book. It has a lot of the typical contactee abductee scenarios with screen memories and loss of time and fear reaction, public ridicule, a lot of the things. But I've also come across information that says that he's a plant, that he's programmed, that it's part of this narrative that's being pushed by certain factions of the government. And so that's kind of why I'm writing the book that I'm writing, is because I'm really fascinated about this idea that while there might be, I personally think there is a genuine ET presence and genuine contact, but I also think that certain factions within the government, maybe the world's governments, are using that trend to also mask certain activities that they may have, like the usage of high technology in the form of, like, say, a free energy machine or anti-gravity stuff. If you've gotten into the electronic warfare biosphere, like our biofield.
Ah,
And so they're routing data. So the technology really that's available is crazy. But that's why I'm so fascinated by Travis Walton, and several other contacted cases have been alleged by other researchers, that they're just agents of the CIA or something, or even just victims of programming that are pushing a narrative that is kind of a way for the government to hide various activities. So I'm super fascinated by it. I don't really know whose story is true or not, because it's all a person's real experience. And if if you start going around denying people's experiences, then I think we've lost a bit of the humanity that we have. But at the same time, I think programming is very real, and I think some people are victims of it. And I can't really say who or what, but I'm totally fascinated by the subject, and I love hearing people's stories and experiences. Eric, there's one other person I know that has a story and a video that I've watched that's like the video you described, about 18-minute video of a cloak coming over, like some type of material. Yeah, you know him, Theresa, and we'll talk about that after the show, but so to keep his privacy. But it was fascinating because it was like his cell phone was going off when it was on his body inside this cocoon or some type of a material, and you could hear him breathing.
Yeah.
And you could hear like clicking outside it, like maybe it was communication.
Yeah, that's like it was for me. You hear this, it's really weird sounding breathing, but yes, it's like this click, 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 click. And then it actually happened again on my birthday. I went to this. So August 2021 is when it first happened. But fast forward, I guess 10 months, I went to the McMinnville UFO Festival in Oregon by me, and I was also happy to see Wheatley Strieber and Kathleen Martin, Barney and Dennis. And those buggers got me again when I was going to Kathleen's talk. I parked my car, and it's only 1 minute and 10 seconds, but it's that same mesh. And I walk across the street, and it's over. And I swear I wrote it down in my journal. I walked in to see Kathleen Martin. I was really out of sorts. I sat in the back row, and the video was texted to me from myself. I was like, "What's this text?" And I'm like, "Oh, it happened again." It's just the same cloaking. You see this mesh go over. So it was just kind of like proof that, it actually did happen 8 months or 10 months earlier.
Right.
Well, it's good that you're willing to be an author, and I hope you guys will stay in our UFO Association. There's no charge. We just all know who each other is. And then hopefully the ET Talk will keep going as a marketing tool for PR for people that are in the business. But Eric, we'd like to have you back on your own. You wanted to discuss all that's happened, and then Chanel, Arnold, everything you're doing and how you foresee your future with your family's credibility and how you're going to move forward with your life in this business, because obviously you both have been chosen to come forward. And then also I'm into esoteric and metaphysics. And Eric, you talked a lot about magic that you use, and I guess manifestation of consciousness and making it manifest in 3D is a big deal these days. But if you can prove it's not all AI, I would really appreciate it. Bret, I guess this hour is really coming to a close. So, Bret, you want to tell people how to contact you to book and me? And I'm hoping Eric and Chanel become a decent part where they may give more time.
Definitely. We're open to it. Thanks for having us. And before you have me on, at least, I'd like it if you could watch that video, just unbiased without the backstory.
Did you send it to me? I looked for it.
Yeah, I did it by a WeTransfer. So look for a WeTransfer email in your inbox, and then you can either forward it to Bret or have them, or I could send it to Bret.
Yeah, I'd like to check that out.
Being that is material that's firsthand, and you took it with your own equipment, you need to document your type, whether it was Apple or Android, and make sure you know the year and all of that. And then you need to have someone that actually And I tell everybody this in the business, not just as an investigator, prior forensics, but the fact that that may become an important asset for you in the future, may or may not. I'm not,
I know that's
admitting, confirming, or denying, but just common sense will tell you need to have that confirmed by a company. And there's a gentleman up there, I don't know his name, but I just saw him on one of the shows, maybe with George Knapp, but up there in your area. But you need to have that looked at, right? And I don't know how expensive that is for
I've had a couple researchers analyze it frame by frame. Actually, I think 3 of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I've limited people who've gotten it. When I give it to you two, you'll probably be like the 13th and 14th people.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, keep
I don't want it out there because someone will put it on YouTube and edit it, and
right, exactly. Piece it up.
Protect yourself.
I've only been giving it to top researchers, people I trust. A lot of them blow me off. They're so busy, but I'm not going to give it to anybody.
Yeah, well, no, here with my group are the one that's free. It's open source, folks, but we pretty much know who each other is due to social media we've helped build, with GitHub and Facebook and Pinterest and X, which was, Twitter.
Yeah.
But we all sort of know each other, and we'd like to keep in touch. But I do have an author, consultant, and organizer and orators group. So Bret Lueder, tell us how to contact you. And then which one of you want to come back? Bret, you want to book Eric and then Chanel, or Chanel?
Whatever. Let's see what their schedules are like. And we've got some other shows coming up too. So, I'm like the opposite of Theresa, where I don't like to plan as much ahead and kind of take it as it comes. Or Theresa likes to plan ahead, and so anyways, at some point we're gonna have both of you back on. So without committing to a specific date or time,
okay,
we'll stay in touch, and we'll see what your schedules are like. We'll see what our schedule's like, and we have a lot to process from this talk for both of you. So I think both of you by yourselves will be excellent interviews as well. And so before we go, can you guys both plug your books and tell people how to get a hold of the books, or where to get in touch?
Books, whatever it is that is going to make you who you are in the future.
Well, she's got the book.
Yeah,
I don't.
Yeah, he's working on doing books, but my book is The Coming of the Saucers, and it's on Amazon, and it is written by Ray Palmer and Kenneth Arnold. I'm trying to get it to show. There it goes.
Coming of the Saucer.
It's republished by Chanel Shantz, but I'm having it changed. I'm having it changed to Arnold, but anyhow.
It's a good marketing move. Like. Change it to Arnold.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's on Amazon, so yeah.
Okay, Eric, when is your first book coming out?
That's the question. That's the good question. The question of the hour. I'll just say the titles. So the first one is Skylab, Synchronicity, and UFOs. Skylab, the first U.S. space station, was actually launched the day I was born. So that was
historically.
And then the second book is that video that you're going to watch. It's Abducted in Broad Daylight, because it happened at 4:51. And then the third book, which I have just started a few pages, is going to be Missing Time at the Stroke of Midnight.
Yeah.
And that's the hour and 10-minute video where 58 minutes are unaccounted for. So I just want to get all 3 published at the same time, so I have 3 books instead of 1.
Okay.
Yeah, so good idea. Plus, these days you do it in your own words, but it's so easy with Grammarly to check it, or even with AI to help you on your chapter choice. But it's your book and your words, and we know it'll be a great book. So Eric, congratulations on being one of our new authors. And Chanel, with your name on that book, you're in our group now too, authors, consultants, oracles, orators, and we'll be glad to have you back. And Chanel, I don't know that I have an email on you, but if you don't mind sending that, and Eric's, but I have a Gmail for public, TJ Morris, ACIR, our agency at Gmail to me. And
I'll email you Chanel's email, and then why don't you email Bret my email? So
okay,
cool.
And then in terms of that video, when you have me on, I don't want to put the whole thing on, but if I'm okay and it's been on other podcasts with a snippet of it, like a minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do
Be
it.
more than happy to do that. And it sounds like a great time. I know you're remodeling your home and getting ready. You have a lot on your plate as a former accountant and taking care of the books. And I'm looking at you as a possible candidate for our UFO Association in 2025. So we'll be talking about that in the future of where we're going to do all our data points and keep everything together for the UFO Association and MP4s like this too. But right now, folks, you can get it on Facebook, you can get it on YouTube, and hopefully we're going to be putting it on eTalk TV, on Rumble, and a lot of other places that we have. I've got 20 to 100 YouTube accounts. So you'll see them out there on TJ Morris or American Communications Online, which is my company name. Bret, you put it on Rumble do these go on ET Talk on Jeff on the TJ3BTriangle?
They will be. He hasn't had time to put any up yet, but I think we're around episode 28 or 29 right now. We'll have to go back and count. And
I know
they're gonna go up on etalk.tv as well. I think you put them on YouTube, right?
Oh yeah, lots of places. You'll just go by your name, Eric Degner or Chanel Arnold. But I'll have to go see how they're once we get off and I download this, and then it'll download if it chooses little, like you said, little snippets. Sometimes people have 1, 2, or 3 that the AI will capture for StreamYard and pull for me. But if you have any questions, I will email you a copy through WeTransfer, which I use. And as long as I've got your emails, I can put you on my list and my phone. I'm really not good, folks, with phones, but I have different groups. And then I'll put your name in there because it's so easy to lose everybody. It's absolutely amazing. So I'm like a service person, agent of service administrator for different groups and associations. So join us, if you will, on UFO Association and American Communication Online. And Bret Lueder has his on Bret Lueder Facebook. And I'm in the process of creating his reality with his name and his bio that AI gives me all the places in his books. And so we're going to build this association based on one brick at a time or one personality at a time. All right. I guess that we will have y'all back soon. And we'll just all get together on our Google Calendar. So add your Google Calendar with your Gmail. If you don't have a Gmail account, make you one. Those seem to be easy to put your UFO stuff in. And then we'll get back with you soon.
Okay.
Well,
thanks for having us,
time, guys.
Nice meeting you. Nice meeting you in Vegas.
Thank you, everybody.
Yes, absolutely.
And
all right, guys, have a great night.
All right, take care. Have a great rest of your week.
Thanks, you too.
Okay.
Bye, TJ.
Thank you, everybody. All right.
Over
I guess we're out of here. Let's see.
TJ Morris Publishing House has